Hello, and welcome back to the Ashen Chant. And for a change, it's me opening up, Gentleman of Leisure, and the darlings with me this week are Alexandus, of course, our always returning host, who's decided to push me into the limelight this week to, show off my beautiful features on a radio. Damn it! Anyway, moving on.
Wow.
We have with us Iridescence, who we'll be having a chat to. And so, moving swiftly on, I mean, if you guys want to say hi to the lovely listeners.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I'll just a heads up, everyone. Everyone's they're crowded around a mic together.
Yeah, that's the situation right now.
Everybody around the campfire.
I can see on my screen now Trinity, and it has 3 people on the mic. I'm very pleased to see this, for obvious reasons.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I just run with things, darling. Don't worry.
Oh,
but anyway.
there it is.
Oh, it was going to happen. Just deal with it. Anyway, the obvious thing just to address first, the BWE week, the beta weekend. So, what will everyone be doing?
Last BWE, I tried out the Guardian character for my Char. I didn't really like it. I didn't think that it's really going to fit with his character. So really, I'm trying to play a warrior, just see what's going to, how that's going to work out, because there's definitely some differences, but also see if that's going to be better for my character as far as he's going to be using like a shield, so is he going to be able to protect people better in combat, do a little bit more damage, or should I go back to being Guardian? I'll probably stick with warrior though.
Oh, Warrior's always a good class. I mean, myself, I've never really tried it. It's always good fun, though, I've noticed. I always manage to go for the really obscure classes. Well, let's say I'm an engineer, it's a lot of fiddling and utility. How about you, Trinity, down there?
Warrior's a really straight cut I mean, I tried a couple of them. The warrior does very high DPS. Other than that, I personally have tried the warrior, the mesmer. Ranger wasn't so much thief, but I have a really weird build to it. Rail has done thief, and what else have you done?
Everything.
Everything? Okay.
A girl after my own heart, thoroughly. So, what about, as in for class classes, I mean, people are going to try out new things, obviously, and things. How about scouting out any RP locations and the like? After all, it's a very, very extensive world from what I've seen.
I think that there's going to be a couple people, at least, I'm speaking for the cartel at least at this point. I'm thinking that there's a few people that are going to be looking at locations for RP, because I know that we've also been talking about where we're going to be based out of. So I know for a fact we're definitely going to be going out of Lion's Arch. I think the big question is, and I don't even know because I haven't really looked at it too much in the last BWE, are there, open buildings that we're going to be able to just kind of occupy and work with, or is there not? They're not. We're going to just have to figure something out. So I'm not sure. But I'm not sure about Trinity. What are you guys doing for anything like that, RP related, or?
Well, we're definitely looking forward to whenever they decide guild halls will be coming in. But until then, we're scouting out for a building that we're going to hopefully be able to use for the Iridescence meetings, but other than that, it'll just kind of be wherever we feel like it.
Oh yeah, so I mean, it's stuff like WoW and the like. I know it was always good to find some location you could go in, because a bunch of open buildings can just serve as countless stuff. I mean, I remember one place in WoW, I think it was outside Stormwind, one of the castles, it doubled up as about the garrison for about 3 different guilds, and they all worked together, so they actually had a full-on patrol rota going around. So really, locations can be fantastic for RP, and I think everyone here understands that.
Yeah, didn't they have places inside Stormwind also, like a couple of just random open areas too? It's been years since I've played.
Oh yeah, I mean, there was stuff like that. I mean, there's probably tons of other games I'm missing where there's some great locations. I mean, Old Republic, stuff like that, it was always the cantinas. I mean, that carried over from Galaxies, really.
So that's another conversation in itself with the Old Republic. I've jumped on this bandwagon that the Old Republic was almost anti-RP with the lack of just things that you could do. I mean, you couldn't sit down in a chair, for God's sake.
I found how to lounge, though. I worked it out. I'm proud of that.
Wow.
And O'Shea's lounge, too. I was very proud.
What about you guys there with Trinity? Have you guys done other kind of RP game or RPing in games or what?
We all came from Aeon, actually. Not a very fun game, but we all came from
Aeon. Very
Aeon.
pretty game.
Aeon was just like WoW with wings, wasn't it? At least that was my impression.
No, man, no. Grinding was god awful.
So it's quite a bit of a grind in Ion, especially in the beginning. They made it much better now.
I mean, I tried a short stint in there, and I got to agree. Yeah, the grinding was interesting, but the game was so pretty though I couldn't really stop.
I literally tried Aeon till level 10, got my wings, flew around for a few minutes, and said, okay, I've experienced everything I want to experience.
But the character creation was so pretty too.
I suppose. I don't put a whole lot of credence into it. I mean, like, I do to get a general aspect, but I really don't need to mess around with sliders for 2 hours and just figure out how my character's going to look, because most of the time, with characters that I play, they're going to have armor on anyway, so you're really not going to see a whole bunch of anything.
So this is the thing with the people like us who, like, you know, do pretty boys.
I don't know. What about you guys, Trinity? Are you, I guess, which bandwagon do you jump on? The we're going to play with sliders on the character to make them look just right for 2 hours, or just run with it?
Well, I do like how on Guild Wars 2 you can't make them extremely small or skinny or anything like that, because we had a lot of freakish characters on Ion.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I have to say I love the character creators, stuff like that. I know last beta weekend I spent an hour creating one person, but 30 minutes were spent on the name.
She's a little bit crazy like that.
30 minutes in a name. Actually, not gonna lie, that was an issue with my character. I had to change the warband name for my Char character because of the 19 character limit, and of course, Alexandus being a little bit of a lengthy name, it kind of takes up most of that.
Yeah, I sympathise entirely. I was spent ages on the name. It's like, I want to do something right. Like, for example, during the last beta, I put in the name, just put Gabriel Belmont the standard. Someone had already taken it. So it's a race for the to claim the name when the game is officially released for me.
Well, that's the thing, though, with my character's name, Alexandus, it's really unique as far as, you know, most games, I can put in that name and it'll be available. So hopefully I don't have too many issues with that.
Moving on slightly, because I could just carry on about character creation for so long. But how about PvP? Now, I myself have not tried a lot of it, so I'm eager to hear what people actually have to say. Because I've read reviews and stuff like that, but actually hearing people that played it is just a lot more fun. So, I mean, what's everyone's PvP experience here? How did you like it? And if you don't like it, why not? Etc. You know, let's have some fun with this.
I'm going to let Trinity start off because I'm going to go on a rant in about a minute.
Well, I know I definitely like it. I love playing around with the different builds and messing around, especially with the teamwork. I tried World vs. World for the first time. I'm very directionally dysfunctional, so it took me a while to get to where I needed to go. But all in all, I definitely like the PvP system that Guild Wars 2 offers.
What I had to do mostly was make her builds to get her stuff right. She could not get it done right. I actually had a hell of a lot of fun on the PvP, especially with the Mesmer. It's different. It's really different from most other games. And the amount of customization you can have, it's ridiculous.
This is the only game, basically, I can PvP on. Straight up.
Only because she punt people over the edges.
I'm going to ask you guys, because normally, and this was kind of like the rant I said I was going to go on, I don't PvP, because usually what I find in a lot of games that I'll try PvP on is that there is something that is unbalanced about it. There's always, you know, one or two classes that really, you know, stand above the rest as far as, you know, they do good, you know, player damage or something. And most people would end up being those classes. But, you know, for Guild Wars 2, is it different as far as that aspect is concerned?
They're a bit, in my opinion, they're a bit more balanced, but there are certain ones that if you don't have the proper build, you're not going to survive. I know I ran around with Zafel here stabbing me in the back, two-shotting me half the time.
In any game you find, there will never be a true balance. And this Guild Wars 2 is going to be one of them. They do have a better balance, though, but there's going to be, if there is a meta, there are going to be some classes with specific builds that are going to be meta over other ones.
Well, I've heard that the Guardian has been very OP, and they've nerfed him multiple times, and they're still OP. That's what I've heard, but I don't know.
Not until slapping around with the Mesmer.
See, and I've played the Guardian, and really, and I'll go back to the link that I kind of had with, I played a Paladin in World of Warcraft, and I liked that kind of playstyle, even in PvP. You know, being able to put heals on somebody, you know, and then if you're doing like a group thing, you can, you know, put on your little bubble and run around them and just watch them get pissed off as they try to do damage to you. But the playstyle is so different with the Guardian, as far as the what I found out I ended up doing was I might hit someone a couple times, I would put down, like an AoE ground target to try to help people out, hit someone a couple times, maybe put on a small heal, and then it would just keep going back and forth like that. So did that, is that those kind of tactics, is that kind of like what was making them OP, or what makes them OP?
Well, here's the issue. In WoW, how you can have your character, you can have them set up to be. Same thing how they had that's the build, that's the healing build, that's the more prop build, that's the red build. Paladin's one of those lucky classes. Any three of the builds could work perfect for PvP. In Guild Wars, like I said, your talent traits and how you have your skills set up will affect how it is. So it's not exactly like the Paladin, but I guess it can be similar to a certain extent.
The elite skill, the healing one, I can't remember what it's called, but I remember if you have that up, basically whenever you have it up, as long as you have it up, you will not die, because the heals can completely heal you, heal everybody around you, etc.
Ooh, sounds handy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would still want to do that. But I think that also goes back to the issue of char lore as the whole, kind of shying away from magic a little bit. So that's why I was going to do, really just try to do a warrior that was more of a sword and board kind of build. So he can still try to protect people a little bit, especially once he eventually gets, you get the use of banners. I've heard that those are very useful.
Actually, they are extremely useful. You just basically pick one up, slap it around, I think it's a 5-meter radius anywhere around you, and it just starts giving up a buff on whatever the banner you selected. When I had used that buff against Rail's character, I was able to crit on her character about 9 to 10k on the warrior, and then later on you can pick up the banner and stab him in the face with it if you want.
Are you serious? That is amazing.
Yeah, the banner has it. Once you have the option, you pick it up, and you have 5 things you can do with it, and one of them is stab him in the face with it.
They even gave the banner weapon stats. That is amazing.
I now know the weapon I want to use.
Banner attack. Suddenly, banner
exactly.
to the face.
It's the new banhammer.
The banhammer. Brilliant. Oh, God. I mean, I'm interested. I want to see how I'm going to cope as an engineer, because I'm very much, I assist everyone, I'm very heavily spec'd with my elixirs. I'm all about throwing them out, putting debuffs on the enemy and assisting everyone else. I mean, it was quite funny, just in an open world, when we get into big fights, I threw my elixir out, everyone got a buff, and everyone started going crazy with their attack speed and that kind of thing. I mean, I think my favourite was the random utility one, whereby if you throw it, it will cause a barrier, and it could be any barrier from the Guardian tree, the Necromancer tree, or the one of the others, and I just found that immensely fun. Just throwing them out and see what happens. I'm probably going to be a bit unreliable, but I want to see if I'm going to get too punished for that in-game. I mean, we'll see, I guess, when it comes to World vs. World, but it looks a lot of fun.
That would be an excellent, an RP kind of thing that, if you make your character as kind of like a random character, you can approach him, you can talk to him, but you really don't know, kind of like if he's schizophrenic or something, you really don't know who you're going to be talking to until you actually engage with him.
That's actually funny, because my character is somewhat like that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, have you been reading my bio again, Axe?
No, actually, I haven't, but when you talk about your character, it kind of gives me the idea, but no, I'm going to be honest, I haven't read it.
That's fine. But basically, the idea of throwing out a random elixir and random effect, that just seems so fun for me, in-game and in RP.
Now, the really funny thing would be if you can throw one out and it would just be a dud. It wouldn't do anything. It might, give you the instant, cooldown, but just to have it throw out and be just a puff of smoke and nothing happen.
I would cry
Worth it.
if that happened.
Worth it. Just so my character can yell poof.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
But, is there anything else about the PvP? I mean, I've seen some, actually. I mean, what gets me above anything else is just the constant movement. I mean, WoW, it was everyone was on the go with their abilities, and even Aeon and stuff like that. But I got to admit, just the fast-pacedness of World vs. World really took me by surprise. I mean, anyone else pick up on that?
I kind of did. I don't know if you guys remember playing in WoW Alteric Valley, how basically to win it was Zerg rushing it. If you do the tournament structured PvP, which is basically 5 versus 5 to stop you on one of the PvP maps, one of the issues we saw, that we were trying to okay, 2 go here, 2 go here, 1 goes in the middle. But the issue is the other team, they Zerg rushed it. They would just 5 goes to one spot, 5 goes to the next spot, 5 goes to the next spot. So each person would get messed up.
Now, yeah, actually, that was something that I was going to ask about with the World versus World PvP. It's I was kind of gonna. I've never done it yet, so really I'm kind of uneducated as far as the world versus world stuff. But I watched videos on it and things like that, where people just made massive waves of players that are kind of, they're going around going to the different objectives. Now my question is, I played the PvP in Lord of the Rings Online, where I played as the evil side. And really, we always just called that a yo-yo. You'd be fighting in between two of the keeps. You might capture for a little bit, then you'd lose it, you go back to yours, and back and forth, back and forth. So, is it similar to that, or how really is the experience overall with it?
I know when I was doing World vs. World, I was there when we were taking over one of the major areas. It's very much like, for anybody who's played Ion, it would be very similar, at least to me, this fort sieging and stuff like that. There wasn't much of a yo-yo action. Once we took over everything, I think people just gave up because we owned everything. So I'm not sure about the whole back and forth. I think it'll just depend on the way that people build up and how many people are interested in playing after launch.
It's always a good point, because during the beta, I remember Tarnished Coast in particular was really being quite aggressive on the World vs. World scene. I mean, I think some parts of the world was like completely taken over, and that must discourage some people, because if you are in a scenario where your server's not doing very well, I mean, would that discourage people at all, do you think?
I would think so, but here's my question, and again, I'm really going to look at you guys in Trinity, because you seem to have, a ton more experience than I do, obviously, with it, but I know you can guest on another server, so are you able to guest on another server and fight on their side for World vs. World, do you know?
When you're guesting, you're not allowed to participate in World vs. World. You can only go there and do the other stuff, so that you can't be jumping over to assist a side.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that makes sense, because if you're fighting against that side and you're like, no, I think I'd rather be on the winning side, you can just guest over there and help them out.
Yeah, somebody drop your banner and pick up the other.
Yeah, stab them in the face with their own banner.
Oh god, the cruel irony.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to that now that you mentioned it.
Oh, just give it like a little kitten for the rest of the week now.
Oh, yeah, I will be. But the problem is, I won't be here for a lot of the BWE, so I'm going to be thoroughly upset.
Oh.
I'm going
Everyone get banner pictures.
Yeah, get banners and take like short little videos of stabbing someone with a banner and either send it to me, post it as a video response, because this will be on YouTube, something. I would like to see that.
Well, we actually made some funny videos ourselves. One of them was Mesmers can mess around with people who are AFK using the portals. If the person's AFK, you drop the first portal on them, and you make the second portal somewhere else, and they'll move them automatically. So what we had done in one of the first BWs is we just hoarded a bunch of AFK people and threw them across the lake.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? That is awesome.
Herding AFK players.
Oh, if they don't fix that, that is going to be the most that is just, people are going to get trolled so hard.
That should be like a regional contest. AFK herding.
It was definitely fun and eventful. We managed to get at least 20 to 30 people all crowded up on one rock, because it works, I guess, even if you're not in groups with people.
I'm sure that'll be changed at some point.
Oh, I hope not. Another funny video we had made is, in PvP, you can actually kill people with the warrior by simply kicking them off a ledge.
Oh lord, how many Sparta
this is
quotes?
Sparta, exactly.
Yeah, we made that exact video.
Oh, someone had to.
I think we were the first.
Claim to fame, right there.
Yeah, that would be awesome. If you guys can at some point send me a link to it, I'll throw a link on the description of our video when we put it on YouTube here.
Alrighty, we could definitely do that, possibly after the cast, because we are functioning between 3 computers and a TV right now.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's fine. I just mean at some point. I'll just throw it on here for him.
Organized chaos.
And actually, I'm going to throw this in here just real quick, because now we have another commentator. Sin is home and with us. So, how are you, Sin?
I don't fucking know. I spent the entire day zooming around Lake Union in a fucking cruise boat at 7 knots an hour. It was really kind of painful. I got to see the houseboat from Sleepless in Seattle, though. Wonderful!
So, now that the podcast is rated explicit content, let's carry on.
Oh, thank God, I can finally start talking about that.
Night of the Falling Axe, I guess?
Ah, of course, Night of the Falling Axe, yes, reaching part 3, and there's already intrigue of all sorts going on for what I've seen.
What, you mean the eternal bitch fest between Zan and Shavir?
Called it!
Everybody must listen to how serious Zan is. No! I am Shavir! I am less serious! all of you horrible inquisitors are being mean! And I was like, this is what I wanted, but you guys are taking this a little too seriously. They're gonna probably be kind of pissed with me after I say this.
Meanwhile, Gabriel's high and ordered a feast for the local tavern because he's bored.
And this voice RP brought to you by Kibbles and Bits.
Alright, quick highlight. Night of the Falling Axe Part 3, which is Night Ends. There's been 3 parts. Night Begins, Night Wanders, Night Ends. Night Ends is basically the conclusion of this summer-long story we've been doing, and it's going to be concluding with the election of, well, not really election, it's kind of really stupid to call it an election, the rising of 3 new masters to the Council of 5 Masters, who are going to be forming the 12th Council, which can mean a lot of things. And currently it looks like there's already 2 divergent parties forming in the lore. I did not expect that so quickly.
Well, they are the political side, of course. They're going to have all the intrigue.
I mean, we already have I didn't expect the controllers to be so hawkish about it, and the Seekers to split everything down the middle the way they have. I mean, the Blade was just like, yay, Rhaegar! And the lore is just like going all Republican and Democrat with shit with that stuff. That's how partisan they made it.
I noticed that. It's amazing. I mean, the Blade, it was a case of, who wants the job? I don't want it. Well, you're the one giving the speech. How about you? Fine. Kind of perfect flowed together.
Oh yeah, the Blade, it was something that we talked about before, kind of like out of character, like, okay, we're gonna need a master of the Blade. Who wants to do it? And it was pretty much like, I do. Alright, well you said you do, so we're probably gonna end up running with you. And the way that I kind of made my character do that, as far as, because he got on it was Rorgar's character, this Char, for those that aren't aware of what's going on with it, and he basically got up on a soapbox and started giving speeches of, we need to choose a leader, and I just pretty much said, well, you like giving speeches, so go ahead. And pretty much everyone agreed. So for the most part, the Blade, being the single-minded entity that it is definitely living up to its name.
Of course, I'm not going to let them make it that easy.
Well, I mean, if everyone's kind of agreeing, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, yes, everybody's agreed, but that doesn't mean it's going to be that easy. I mean, technically, if you go back to the analysis of the parlay thread for the lore, they broke the code of Entente. They're going to invoke the Wrath of the Shadow by threatening members of their fellow sect. They have, Shavir actually grabs his staff, and he's getting very close to, I wouldn't say attacking, but he's threatening to attack Xanthus or someone at that point. And in the cartel, to actually officially attack people and initiate gang war, you have to basically declare the right of vendetta. And you actually have to be okayed with this, because it's a ritualistic form of combat. And doing it outside, unless you're punishing someone, is generally looked down upon. Ever since the Civil War, the Shadow doesn't allow that crap. They literally step in and they will smack people hard for doing stuff like that, because it tears apart the cartel internally.
The coin must appear so casual compared to everyone else right now. We are literally sitting around drinking and getting to know each other.
Because Neil hasn't showed up.
So really, you guys are just sitting around going, so you like money? Yes, quite, I do.
Gabriel kind of charged in and, half naked, ordering wine and food, and everyone just kind of joined in,
The coin is about as violent as a pack of Ferengi on ale. If anyone knows Star Trek, that's basically what the coin are based off. They're Ferengi.
Hey!
Oh no, I'm sure,
Some of us are violently unpredictable.
Just like the Ferengi. But in any case, so basically Night of the Falling Axe, Part 3, as far as the cartel lore is concerned, we're going to be doing this once it's finished. Hopefully we'll have some new leaders established within the various, each different sect should have its own leader at that point that's player controlled, so that we can kind of have an established organization going into the game. Because of course, with every podcast that we do before it's launched, it's going to be right around the corner. So we will see what happens with that, and I think that was pretty much it. I just wanted to, let people know, because there are some people that they might not read all the forum posts, or they might just listen to this to try to get general information for what goes on. So really, Night of the Falling Axe Part 3, that'll establish leadership within the cartel, and as it sounds, there are apparently, I guess, a little bit of a division in one sect already. So it should be pretty interesting to see what happens.
Yes, and then the Fire Nation attack.
He's so kind to us, isn't he?
Wow.
Now, if you want to learn more about cartel history and stuff, this is not the place for it on AshenCast. You should listen to Ashen Mythos if you want to learn more about the cartel specifically.
Yeah, definitely the Ashen Mythos. I guess we can do a small plug about it real quick. It's also on the YouTube channel, so if you click on the name for the Ashenfold Cartel, you'll see it. But basically, Ashen Mythos goes into everything you wanted to know, and probably a lot of stuff that you didn't care to know about each different sect. A lot of stuff about how the cartel works and things like that. And you also go over the concept of legality that I think we've pretty much cleared up at this point. I haven't really heard of any more issues or questions about it. So I think that we're doing well on that front.
Some people are so confused by it, surprisingly.
No, that's okay. They'll come around eventually.
Yeah, but this is mostly about the guests, though, not us. Them. It's about them.
And speaking of...
yes, that leads on very nicely. Yes, that leads on very nicely to, of course, the fact that our guests this week, the darlings, are Iridescence. And I myself, unfortunately, do not know a lot about them. Only heard a few vague references from Alexandus and Shadow Sin. All good, of course, don't worry. So the first question is the origins of your little group, or large group, as I don't know which you are. So please avail me of my ignorance.
Alrighty, are you talking the in-character or out-of-character origins?
Basically, if you want to start, the name Iridescence, because that's pretty unique. How did that name even come about?
It included me being on a bus trip for about 3 hours, and me and Rio just talking it over, going through different names while I was stuck on a bus.
So, what other contenders were there besides Iridescence, out of curiosity?
We went through, I can't even imagine how many. Radiance was one, Radiance, Radioactive Decay, but we decided that wasn't the best. We decided that wasn't the best roleplay name. So, yeah, we had a whole bunch of different ones. I mean, we must have thrown out 40 to 50 names before all three of us finally agreed on one.
Wow, that's pretty sane. Even though I would like to see the Decay, I want to see that one come around again.
Radioactive Decay.
That should be our Keg Brawl team.
Yes, exactly. But
because they're introducing Keg Brawl.
But how long has the guild Iridescence itself? How long have you guys been established as a guild?
We came up with Iridescence back toward the middle of March, beginning of April, and we just began to build it from the floor up with the idea that Iridescence itself, because of the name and all that, was to be for a little bit of everything.
Multicultural in a way.
Yeah, trying to mix up a little bit of everything so anybody would be able to join with us and fit in like they're at home without having to change their character to try to meet a certain way.
But your guild's older than that. If I remember correctly, you guys have an Aeon lineage, don't you?
The three of us met in Ion, though we met through different guilds. So that was just the meeting place.
Yeah, an Aeon guild I don't want to talk much about.
Don't worry, just ask.
Don't worry, investigators doing all the work in the background, don't worry.
Tippity tappity tippity.
As far as the guild itself, do you guys, do you have a label as are you guys good guys? Or are you guys bad guys?
Neutral.
We're in the gray zone in certain areas. Basically, we'll take any job, whether it's a legit job or a less legit job. It doesn't really matter what it is.
Ooh, sounds like fun. After all, we follow a similar... I'm not going to go into too much detail because we could go on for ages about this with the cartel.
They're actually the stage. That was the cartel in the first year when we developed it. It's expanded, but they're in the pre-cartel format, I guess you could say.
Oh, okay. That's actually pretty cool that we are not the only ones that are kind of going on this notion of we fall in the gray area, because as the cartel also, we're pretty much the same way. We don't label ourselves as good. We don't label ourselves as bad. If anything, we label ourselves as both. So it is really neat as far as an RP standpoint. So, but what is do you guys have a backstory? How did the guild come about? Were there founders or anything like that?
It's weird how it starts off. It's more of arc three characters that met at one point, had a really shaky beginning, kind of getting to know each other and tagging along with each other, just doing any jobs they could to get by, and seeing after a while, it's more of they started getting a name for themselves, and it's we kind of need help. Let's kind of form a group. And from then, the group just kind of expanded to the point where it is now.
So yeah, originally they started out as three wanderers looking around for a job, stuff like that, decided that they would probably get more income, get more jobs if they had a title behind them. So that's when Iridescence came about.
So essentially, are you guys considering yourself just flat-out mercenaries?
Not exactly, because my character does no mercenary work whatsoever.
each character in themselves holds different positions and different jobs. So, like, we have 3 different divisions: contracting, revenue, and protection. And Malric, who is a guardian and stuff like that, he handles the protection work. Zafel, who is a mesmer, who's just a really weird mesmer, is handling the revenue, while Rail handles more the contracting, since that dips more into the illegit, not legit stuff.
So, as far as then your guys' characters, when they kind of met up, what makes them so different that they had like a shaky start? I mean, because honestly, I don't know anything about your guys' characters specifically. You know, that or the guild for that matter.
Well, one's a Norn, one's a human, one's a Sylvari, and the Sylvari, which is my character, is very strange. It's like basically 2 people in one.
The first time, one reason the relationship was a little bit shaky in the beginning was that Zafel tried to kill Rail.
He just
So,
shoot him away.
he tried to kill him, so Rail tried to kill him in return.
Oh, all right. Well, how is
Shaky
it?
start.
Yeah, how is it RPing a Sylvari?
Actually, it's been really weird. Any details I've used had to be very general. Or I had to describe mostly him being in like a hooded type of clothing or anything. Since, having no access to the character creator, it's really weird RPing a character that you have no idea what he looks like.
So no, here, when I've been roleplaying my Sylvari, what I often use is, I use a lot of Fey legends, like Unsale, which is actually what the Sylvari are based on. They originally were a race called the She in the game, so if you need some influences for that character particularly, just look up Arthurian legend and that kind of stuff. That's basically what their culture is based on.
I remember your character Shadow shooting my bouncer.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine. But what about the other characters? You know, what makes them unique in their own right? You know, kind of I guess their own background.
Malric is being shy. Okay. Well, Rail, while Malric is thinking, Rail, he's a bit different. I mean, I'm keeping half of his backstory hidden. I don't have any history posted except for little small snippets because I'm currently in the role plays I'm doing prior to launch, putting little seeds in places, if you will, certain information to one person that doesn't make sense unless you talk to another. So he himself has quite a bit of a backstory. A lot of it has to do with his past generations and different family rivalries, stuff like that.
Well, since my character's a Norn, he's just like any other Norn with the whole drunken kind of idiot over. He has very funny reactions to some things depending on his mood and if he's drunk or not, so it's just most of the time.
So it's just a complete state of inebriation the entire time.
Woohoo! I support that entirely.
Oh
They
no,
make the
he's a
funnest
happy
characters.
drunk.
Well, I know he gets very unhappy if you break his baby, which is his hammer, so...
I was gonna be like, wait a minute. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. So you guys all met up, and this, I guess, motley crew wanted to try to make more money. Do you guys have like a location that you base yourselves out of, or is it like a Lion's Arch thing, kind of like how the cartel's doing, or what?
Primarily, we've been doing most in Lion's Arch. Between Lion's Arch and Divinities, we don't have a specific area. You can basically find them around anywhere. We're currently looking, while we're in the beta weekends, for a particular area in which we want to be able to use, of course, not claiming it, but just use it for meetings or whatever happens, drunken fun.
There's a city in the new area that has a Scrit city, and it actually might be a good Wild West area if you guys want to get into that.
Well, we were thinking Lion's Arch because we are more of a group of anybody and everybody who really can join or wants to. So Lion's Arch basically has everybody there, so it doesn't lean toward anybody.
Lion's Arch is basically America. Throw everybody in there.
Yar.
We'll definitely have to check out the other area too, though.
All right. Well, and also, Doomgrin also said it was Skirtsburg, and if I get a chance, I'll have to look into that. So, but so you guys definitely do the Grey RP. Do you guys try to do, like, is there a certain level of RP? Do you guys consider yourself a heavy RP, light RP?
I would say we're around medium. We're not we don't make people roleplay or have like any real rules when it comes to that. We just ask for our people to be active or to let us know, stuff like that. So we try to keep up with entertaining people, having events going on and stuff like that.
And how many guys do you have now?
About 32-ish, almost now.
Yeah, around 32, and then if everybody, because we had to transfer forums, but if everybody comes over, we're towards the 40s, but as a general estimate, I'd say around 30.
I mean, this is a very random observation, probably out of time, but I was going to say, does me have noticed a lot of diversity in the guilds? I mean, most of the positions to be held by the mix of the races. The last one we interviewed, Aegis, I believe they had a non-human and even Sylvari, didn't they?
I think they did, but they started out very human-based. I think they said that they have a couple Norn and everything, yeah, but what about you guys for Iridescence? Like, what's your racial makeup?
Oh, everything. Man, and some of them are very interesting characters. Some of these people are there.
I think some of our most interesting characters were actually Char.
Yeah, the Char.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of different ones. For the ones that are holding power currently are us three, the Norn, Human, and Sylvari, but there's no really set rules, and we're working with a bit of dynamic positioning, meaning if somebody wanted to take over Rail's job, even though I'm leader out of character lead, they could take over my in-character leadership.
Ah, yes, the dynamic influences are spreading. More dynamic RP for the awesome! It really does make your guild live longer, though, because you can actually, you don't feel bad, and then you can have Rail fight back for power.
Right, we definitely hope it'll bring some fun later on, stuff like that.
RP within RP within RP, etc.
If most of your interesting characters are Char, what was like their personal motivations for wanting to join you guys?
One of them was more of a, what would you say, Razor? He's just more of a killer, I guess.
I don't know. Some of them aren't officially in the guild. Like, one of them in particular, she follows Iridescence around, finding them rather curious, but at the same time, she gives off a feel as if she'd rather just kill them than have to deal with them, especially
my character.
especially his character, Wolven, because Wolven keeps calling the Char a kitty and keeps trying to give him hugs.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure that she would probably love to hug you back, claws and all.
Very much.
Big full kiss with all those big teeth.
My character was like being a complete dumbass, talking to him. It's like, I'll be your friend, and she's just like, no, I don't want a friend. I'd be like, I'll be your friend. I don't care if you don't want to be mine.
So we definitely have an interesting mix of people. Some people are with our guild, and some people are with us out of characterly, but in characterly, they're actually going to play as rivals.
And actually, speaking of rivalry, have you talked or looked into anything, or do you think there will be interaction between basically our two guilds, Iridescence and the cartel?
We actually were seeking through, and we're going through it, reading all the different sects, because I had asked Sin at one point about how rivalry or alliance worked with the cartel, if it was by the sects or as a whole, and I'm going through it and I'm like, I wonder if we could pick one to alliance with and pick one to rival with, just to see how that would play out. And we're going through and we're going, damn, none of these really look like good rivals.
Yeah, one of the rivals she was thinking is like, oh, let's go with the sect of scholars. I'm like, we're not going to rival with a bunch of students and teachers. We're not there to beat them up for lore.
Then you should totally rival against the Blade. We would... Because, if it shapes up, and of course I think as Sin said earlier, he's going to be trying to throw a wrench in the thing, but if you have the Char that, if they're faced with a challenge, they're not going to stand down from it. So if you challenge a bunch of Char that are looking at working in the Blade right now, that would make for an interesting rivalry.
That definitely would.
Oh, I'd love to watch, both in character and out.
Well,
there's also the possibility of rivaling different allegiances too, or player groups that are forming coalitions and stuff like that.
Well, there's a lot of RP, I think, that you guys could get in from that. If someone thinks that, because the way that Sin has set it up with all the really factions within factions, there are factions that would love to see the cartel undone. That they want to see them unravel. They want to see them, basically go to war with each other and kill each other, which would then make them obviously easier to pick off from an outside group. But if you guys think that the cartel is getting too strong, then there's nothing I would think to stop you from looking at one of those splinter groups that's trying to infiltrate and, kind of befriend them and maybe offer them supplies or something. It would just make for a great RP opportunity.
Oh yeah, the 5 families. There's also, we're actually already tossing around ideas of introducing political differences in the cartel again. Glaive's got a few crazy ideas. Again, I'm going to be really laughing hard when the dragon cult we have going on starts spreading to our allies.
Oh god, that's going to be interesting to say the least.
I'm pretty sure.
You know they're going to do.
Yeah, I'll get, I'll try to steer it back towards Iridescence here in a second, but if you talk about the Dragon Cult, and because that's what I was going to talk about, is each character's personal story is different. I'll talk about my character for a second. Yes, he's a Char. Yes, he was involved in the war against the humans, but he's more of a progressive character. Like, he knows that if the races don't work together, then they're pretty much all screwed. So he does have this kind of I will deal with the other races and I'll coexist with them for the sake of defeating the Elder Dragons, and then he'll probably have no problem going back to slaughtering them. But he works with them, as he has to. So to face him with that issue of someone to challenge him, but it's also maybe another race that he thinks that he's supposed to try and get in contact with, to try to reunite them all against the dragons, it'll just be an interesting RP aspect. But I think that Sin will probably be the one to go to with if you guys are definitely looking to maybe ally with one sect but go against another. But definitely if you're trying to go find something at least for a physical fight, the Hunt or especially the Blade would be the ones to go for.
There are warriors in the lore. They just don't come out all the time.
A little shy.
The Custodian. They're basically trained kill and fight magic.
Definitely would be interesting. I know we were reading through stuff. We were talking amongst ourselves, trying to figure it out.
I just figured it out first. I just got a great description for your guild. You're a jack of all trades guild. It's basically what you guys are.
Yeah,
Give me
basically.
the money.
Yeah, but also the same could probably be said for us almost.
Yes, but we're also a secret society.
Layers
Well,
upon layers.
yeah.
It's complicated. We can't put ourselves simply anymore. I think we've passed that point a long time ago.
Yeah, no, so definitely. But as far as really an iridescence-based question, what sets you, in your guys' opinion, what sets you apart from the other guilds? Or what would make someone want to join you guys over another?
Well, out of characterly, I think we're really laid back. That's what most of the people we seem to be gathering are those who are newer to roleplay, or they say they feel a little bit less intimidated sometimes because we're really relaxed. We just joke around.
We have for some reason, we have a really welcoming feel, and some of the conversations we have are things we wouldn't be having in this podcast, actually.
M-rated, definitely.
X-rated.
Or more, yeah. But
We get told off in chat by Sin now and then.
sometimes, no. But just in general, in characterly too, I think that one thing most people seem to like is the contracting and the mixture of roleplay into the PvP system and then roleplay the PvE system on top of course, the regular roleplay.
White Ages has a similar concept. I'm seeing this a lot more. More people just incorporating actual gameplay into their roleplay rather than just going, I'm going to go to the pub. I'm going to go roleplay now. Back to PvP. You don't have to sit there and talk during PvP, but you can incorporate the actions into your storyline. It's a dynamic world. It's there for the take.
I'm so happy to see that in so many guilds. I've got to mention, because I got to admit, it's just... I mean, calling back to the obvious one, WoW and stuff, I always find it a bit dull to... RP in the pubs and stuff, but the actual live event stuff going on, I mean, there's constantly little challenges just popping out of nowhere, so the idea for spontaneous RP is just everywhere. It's all there, people just need to take the time to actually go for it, and it's, from what I've seen so far, it looks amazing.
Yeah, I think so too, and I love that the game kind of lends itself to RP, much like, I would say, something like Star Wars Galaxies did. I always link back to that, because that was my first RP experience where the game lends itself to the RP, and I think Guild Wars 2 will kind of follow in its footsteps with letting you interact with the world around you. So definitely other games that want to be RP based should take note of what Guild Wars 2 does.
Also the fact that they don't force a personal story down your throat like certain games do.
You wouldn't be referring to the Old Republic.
Oh, I would totally not be referring to the old Story Republic singular corridors. I know I'm going to piss off a few Tor people by saying this. It's a glorified single-player game.
No, it really is. I came from there.
But yeah,
Same.
I mean, Guild Wars, you can be like a noble and then just be like, okay, I'm now going to go off the Gendar fields and kill centaurs or hang around and do whatever. It doesn't have that you have to do it feel to it. It's got more of a do what you want when you want. And with the sidekicking system, you don't feel like an Uber Banff, but you can still feel like a fairly experienced veteran walking into an area, but things are still challenging. So I guess I'll toss area a quick question here. I noticed you guys have been growing a lot recently. It seems like you guys got a good following going. Pretty awesome, by the way. And here's the actual question. How are you guys going to be incorporating all of this in, like, the various gameplay mechanics, like, just random stuff like Keg Brawl and other stuff like that? How are you going to incorporate that into roleplay?
PvE-wise?
No, the events.
Oh, the events?
Activities, stuff like that. I definitely hope to. I want to see what all the activities are. I know I got to get the preview of like the keg brawl, the snowball fights, and stuff like that. I've heard in total there were like 30 of them. I have to see how they are. We could probably either make them into contracts for certain ones or use them as kind of silly training or something. Like the keg brawls would be awesome for just joking around training, or maybe Malric just gets a little upset one day.
You can dodge a keg, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah.
I honestly
I can see that.
know
That'd be amazing.
nothing about this keg brawls thing. Someone enlighten me.
It's basically like Hutball, but not purely PvP. It's actually its own little game with an actual ball in it. And if you really think about it, you can form player. You could, because I hope they implement something like the SVP, if PvP thing, because you can create tournaments in that. So with Keg Brawl, we could form leagues, create tournaments, and actually have like people betting on teams. We could have people form teams for each city and then play against each other and have championships. You know, we could add that layer of stuff. We could have an entire criminal ring and people busting up illegal gambling dens. That's the kind of shit we can have in Guild Wars 2.
Which I think is amazing. I just have a vision now of people trying to fix teams as well and see how people can work with that.
Yeah, but this is something we can do just because the mechanics have it. That's the wonderful thing about Guild Wars 2. They have all these mechanics that actually encourage RP. Yes, they don't have sitting in chairs. No offense, I really don't care. I played in Guild Wars 2, Guild Wars 1, so most of the people who complain this stuff to me are like, I played in a game where we had instancing and no perimeter chat. Plus all these other horrible things. And we roleplayed for up to 4 years there with active communities. And
Why don't they just sit on the floor?
yeah, that's the thing I laugh at. But that's the kind of thing I'm used to. So when people talk about that, I'm like, oh, you guys don't know anything. It's like comparing I don't know, it's like saying, I guess it's like talking to a Vietnam veteran going like, you don't know anything about war. I saw some things, man, and some stuff. But anyway, I'm going off topic here. I'll let Alexandus take back over.
Yeah. No, from the sounds of it, and Doomgrin in here in the channel with us just kind of typed it up, and I'll just read it really quickly, which almost sounds like a little copy paste. Keg Brawl, 2 teams attempting to score by toting a keg of ale across an icy lake, turning into the ale collector that belongs to their team. Participants can tackle, pummel, kick, and otherwise rough up competing players in order to seize control of the keg, which to me sounds like rugby.
Just with AO.
Except an all-char team would be amazing.
Oh,
Can you imagine an all-Asura team beating the all-char team?
Yes.
No, I cannot. It just wouldn't happen.
I want to see that. It's like Blood Brawl over again.
Wait till
I
you
see
play
it not
Spark-
happening. Oh, sorry about that. I see it not happening because you're gonna pick up the. I'll use the Azura as a keg.
You guys
That's all
know
right,
that when you play Sparkfly Fen and you fight the hordes of undead, the undead Asura will literally run up to you and drop and roundhouse kick you in the head. It's really amazing. It's like these midgets coming out and going, what? And you're like, get it off me.
When in death we grew in power.
Yes, they die and
Martial
they grow in
knowledge.
power.
Oh my god, they're all like from Dragon Ball or something.
Actually, there is the anime closed eyes set for Asura, so you know how many people are going to use that.
Oh dear god.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. And I was just thinking about, I was almost going to say that if there was an all-Norn team, that they might be a little bit better, but the Norn would probably just fight over the keg themselves.
And drink it, of course.
And drink
Or
it,
who
of
is
course.
the better player. I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. My legend's greater. This keg is mine. No, it's my keg.
This voice RP brought to you by...
Biddy-ding, ding, ding. Working on my jingles,
No, you're doing a
Feedback
great
welcome.
job.
A true calling.
But in any case, is there anything else that you guys from Iridescence that you wanted to throw in about the guild before we go ahead and wrap up?
Not much, really. Actually, we kind of got most of our points across, what we are in general, who we are, and in general, it's just a very laid back guild who welcomes in almost anybody.
So, yeah, I know one thing. I definitely like the one thing. I know you posted this up on your wall, Sin, was about not rejecting any role players and about not blacklisting people, stuff like that. I definitely agree with that view.
Yeah, my point on roleplay, I call it the whateverist system. It's based on several different real-life concepts. It's the idea that if I don't like someone in roleplay, I don't have to roleplay with them, but I don't necessarily need to make a big deal out of it. Someone can walk up to me and go, I'm a half Norn, and my character will go, okay, you think you're a half Norn. Wonderful. And I'm not going to ignore them. I'm going to roleplay with them. I just don't acknowledge the stuff I consider to be lore-breaking in the character. I don't actively blacklist people unless they're like really, really, really just people you want to avoid in general, like, the kind of just, the drama llamas kind of people, you just smile and wave to them. But in general, in Ashenfold, and something I've taken from my games is that everybody has these really extensive application systems. It's like, let's make people sit here for 2 weeks to find out if they get along with you. I have a better idea. I understand you want to film everybody, and I understand everybody wants a nice, clean setup, and a lot of people will probably accuse this concept of quantity over quality. Well, here's my opinion. Natural community is formed by people who get along and being friendly to everybody. If you reject everybody based upon preconceived notions without truly getting to know them, then you're kind of being a dick about it. I mean, 2 weeks is a fantastic way to get to know people, but my experience with it is that in the most points, unless you have like a really dedicated following, and then you're really happy with being a small guild, if you want to have like a 20 to 30 member guild that's actually active, you need to open your doors and just let people winnow themselves out naturally. Don't be a dick about it, but let them decide if this is the guild for them. Say, these are our standards, these are our rules, if you don't like it, we'll suggest you to another guild, find the guild that fits you. You don't want to recruit characters, you want to recruit players, because players are the ones that you're going to stay with you. A character comes and goes with the seasons. A character is expendable. In the long term of things, you're here to build a community of players. And that's what Ashenfold is, and I think that's what White Aegis is, and that's what I think Iridescence is. Most of the guilds in Tyrian Accord follow that concept. We all have different application processes, but I've noticed that we're more focused on letting people find the guild that fits them, which I think is the healthier way of doing things, especially with the multi-guilding system.
Yes, I definitely agree. I know that I've been in communities who have basically been very guild cliquish. If you weren't in their guild, they wouldn't roleplay with you at all or stuff like that, and it ended up with a lot of people being left out on the streets basically, or a lot of trouble between guilds and guilds on and out of character level. And I'm just like, man, I don't want that. I want to be on friendly terms with people that I enjoy being friendly with. Just because we're in different guilds doesn't mean we have to be enemies by default.
Yeah, I'm here for the RP, not for the drama. That kind of thing.
I
agree
completely with that.
One tiny question as well. I mean, just for a quick throw out so people listening can know. I mean, do you have a section for applications by guests and stuff like that? For people from other guilds, for example. I mean, because do you forum RP, in fact?
And have where random people could join, or
yeah, random people can always join our stuff.
We have everything basically out in the open. Between if we're holding like a private event or an Iridescence event, if somebody comes by and they want to join, they can. There's really nothing that's private. Even meetings, people could just drop by the forums. There's really nothing hidden on there. If they wanted to join and said, hey, I don't really want to join your guild, I just want to see what's in here, I'd still let them in. I don't really care.
If it's out there, they can join. That's why it's being public.
I was just going to mention that quickly. I know I'm kind of deterring things here. When it comes to design, the nice thing about being open about stuff like that is specifically about farms. If you hide things like character biographies, and I say this because I've seen this debated for like the last 4 years on a large let's just say this. I'm part of a large RPG website called RPG Directory. It's about 6 to 7 times the size of the Guild Wars RPing community. It includes groups from many different genres, from Harry Potter to Star Wars fanatic. And they all have different themes, and the same stuff we argue in RP on 2RP is basically stuff I've seen argued 1,000 times before. And what most people will tell you is, if I can't see what this guild is about, like characters and what they're doing RP-wise, then I don't know anything about them. And unless you want to be a private guild, you need to show stuff. And by Iridescence showing their stuff, they're getting their name out there. That's why if I noticed this, if anyone paid attention to the second VOE, You see 5 Iridescence, and then you pop to the Lion's Arch at the end, and there's 20 of them running around. And that's because these guys are open, and they're willing to induct people right off the bat and bring them in, and that's why they're growing so quickly, and that's also why they're probably going to retain people so well. So I'm plugging them right here as a good guild.
I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, but we've already had some people just jump in randomly, whether they join us or not. Like, I mean, it's not going to be if you start role-playing with us, you have to join us. I mean, we've had people who have just been lingering around, and we'll whisper them out of character and be like, if you want to jump in, don't feel afraid. And usually they will, and we'll just have a good time and then go our ways.
We actually had one person that when we thought about how they joined our site, we were laughing to ourselves because the amount of, he told us how he found out about us, and we're like, the amount of links he had to go through to find the actual join site is ridiculous. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, because we had to move forums and stuff like that, so he had to go through at least 4 or 5 different links to find our guild.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
But now I am very disheartened to say this, but I appear that we are trying to keep to a time limit and such, so Alex didn't spend the next hour editing so much, so I'm going to have to say I think this is the end of our little trip today, and very big thank you for Iridescence for being our guest this evening.
No problemo. It was great having you.
Yes, thank you very much. Definitely appreciate being here, and it was good to get to talk with y'all.
Actually, it was really good, because it's always great to talk in, like, you know, over voice with the rest of the RP community.
So, yes, I guess that's it. So, bye from me, gentlemen, leisure. Alex, Shadow, anything to say on the way out?
This has been AshenCast, children. Have fun.